Okay, we are officially live. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another Superseller Session. My name's Alex, and I'm joined by Anylu and Matt. And they are the dynamic duo. They are the most amazing pair behind the Reseller Rundown podcast, but individually, they're also amazing supersellers. So, for those of you joining us for the first time, Superseller Sessions are basically live interviews with tips, tricks, and no BS advice, which we're definitely going to get from these two today, just about how they started their journey and how they got to the successful place that they're in now. So also, just for being here and tuning in, you are entered to win 1 month of Free List Perfectly. So thank you for joining. And now I'm going to introduce the amazing Matt and Anylu. So starting with Anylu, she goes by Henry's Hangers on all of her selling platforms. She does over $10,000 a year in sales as a part-time reseller. So that's really awesome that you're able to balance your everyday life and the part-time reselling. And she's selling across 3 platforms. Of course, co-host of the Reseller Rundown podcast on YouTube. And then, of course, we have Matt, Why So Thrifty Store. Thank you for joining us. He is a 10-year eBay veteran. So, Matt, I'm sorry, were you on eBay like when you
At
were
12. I think I started eBay when I was probably like 15, 16.
First laptop goes on eBay.
Yeah, my dad helped me for sure.
And he has done $150,000 in sales on eBay and Poshmark so far. And he has thousands of items across all his reselling platforms. So definitely a listing warrior and listing king. And he's also, of course, the co-host of the Reseller Rundown podcast. So Matt, just start by telling us, how did you get into this crazy world of reselling? And it sounds like you've been in it for quite some time.
Yeah, well, first of all, the listing king thing, Anylu forces me to list. I'm like not the best lister, but I'm a good buyer of inventory. But I do end up getting everything listed. It just takes me a minute, you know? But getting into that, my journey, I started on eBay because my dad was an eBay seller. Back when I did my submission for the List Perfectly LP story contest, I kind of told everyone so that my dad was the seller in my family and he was a reseller of different things. So that's kind of what got me into it. And then I just fell in love with fashion. My mom was really into fashion. So I started going to the thrift stores and buying little things here and there and not knowing that you could make $100+ profit on an item, you know? And then when I found that out, I got hooked, of course, right? And eBay was the first thing I started on. And then I started on Poshmark maybe in 2015. And that's when I was introduced to the whole actual community of it, because Poshmark is definitely the platform that has the most social community, which I love because I'm a social person. But yeah, so I've been doing that since, and I've just been trying to grow and scale my business and grow my volume this past year, which I was able to just go full time this past year during quarantine. That's why at the beginning of all my YouTube videos, I say quarantine turned me full-time reseller. So that's my thing. So I hope I answered the question. That's kind of how I got into everything. And I'm just kicking and screaming now, trying to do it still, you know?
I love that. And Matt, I put your Instagram across the bottom as a banner, but we're definitely going to put it in the show notes as well for anyone watching. And you mentioned, I didn't know I can make $100+ selling fashion. And one thing I love that you do on your Instagram before we jump to Anylu's story is just how you show got this for this price, flipped it for this price. And it's amazing. He goes through so quickly, and with thousands of items, it's you're literally doing 20 items in one Instagram story. And I'm just watching oh my God, this guy is making cash. You really have some amazing flips on your Instagram. So for those of you watching, be sure to follow him and check out that and so much more.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, my Instagram is Why So Thrifty Store.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh no, you're good. My old Instagram was actually just Why So Thrifty, and then weirdly it got hacked, so I had to change it. So everybody, my tip for that, for anyone on social media, is change your passwords every 6 months. Just do it.
So true. Okay, Anylu, how did you get into reselling?
So my story is a little bit similar in the sense that I had no idea this was even a thing. I've been a thrifter probably my entire life. My mom was super into thrifting and garage sales. And so it's always been a thing in my life. I just didn't know you could make money from it. So I'm a full-time plant scientist. So I'm really happy with that side of my career. It's just that thrifting was kind of a hobby for me. So one of my friends one day invited me to go thrifting, and I went with her, and I saw that she was like going through every single size, like the whole entire store. And she's like, yeah, so I have this thing that I do on the side. And so she told me all about it. And I was like, wait, I go thrifting all the time. This totally could be something that I do as a side hustle, but then also have a lot of fun with it. So that's kind of how I got started. And then it just went from there. I do it when I have time, and when I don't, then, it's not a big deal. It's not a big pressure on me. So I think that's why I like it, because it's very like go at your pace type of side hustle. So yeah, that's how I started.
So what platforms are each of you selling on? If you could just rattle them off. Go ahead, Matt.
I'll do it in order of like my highest ranking, or like what I make the most money on and put my time into.
Actually, you know what? While you're doing it, tell me which ones. Okay, yes, in order of where you make the most money, and then what products do the best for you.
Okay, so I would say eBay's first. The products that do the best are the practical products. Let's say like hiking gear, the brands that are practical, that are essential. And then Poshmark, I would say blogger favorites, trendy, the ones that people don't really need but they want because they're stylish. And then Mercari, I have like 10 things listed, so I don't really know, but I'm trying. And then Grailed is men's streetwear fashion, and recently I've been selling a good amount on there, and that would be the higher price streetwear. Oh wow, that was really fast and good. I'm proud of myself.
I love that. Okay, Anylu, same question for you. Your platforms you're selling on, and what does the best for you?
So I think my first one is Poshmark, and that's just, women's clothing, which is mainly what I do there anyways. And it's the same kind of thing, the trendy, things that I have to do research on, because I think my generation wasn't as, there's just different trends, things that I'm not used to. So I definitely things that I have to do research on for Poshmark. And then eBay, I think there is a little bit, at least what does well for me is the more mature brands, and also the vintage items, and then hard goods. And then my last one, just like Matt, is Mercari. And I'm just really trying to hold on to that one, because I had some success with it at first, but I think it's just also the one that being honest, the one that I put the least attention to. So maybe that's just the reason behind it.
Oh, me too, for sure. That's the same reason. But I've heard from other reseller friends too that even the people that do put attention into it, they get like 5 sales a week, which is very minimal compared to the other platforms.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, if you want to, if it's another place to put your items, why not? Especially with List Perfectly, it's one button click and it's on there. So I don't have an excuse. I should be hustling more to do it.
Well, what I was going to say about Mercari is it's definitely a platform where some people do really well and most people just do like the baseline.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mercari is it rewards you for listings. So List Perfectly definitely is a great tool for getting your listings consistently and doing like, if you were to do like even one a day, it would definitely reward you and kind of pay off. Although, not necessarily ain't nobody got time for that, every day.
Yeah.
Unless you do, some people like to list that way. Some people don't, which is actually a really good segue into our next question. So Matt, how did you find List Perfectly, and like, what are you getting the most benefit from it? Like, how is it?
I would say I found List Perfectly from, I don't know if it was first from Anylu or social media, but I think it was from my amazing partner, Anylu, right here.
We're together. We're not a couple, guys.
Oh, no. Partner meaning I like men and we're best friends.
Yeah.
Best kind of partnership in the world.
Happy Pride Month. Yeah, so she was like heard about it and I was like, what is this? And she explained it to me. And I was like, this can't be like a real thing. Like, it's really true. Like, you don't have to build multiple listings in multiple places. So I didn't believe it at first. So I didn't start using it for the first like month she did. And then I like caved in and I fell in love with List Perfectly. So, yeah. And then what was the second part of the question?
So what is it helping you with the most? What would you say is your biggest benefit from it?
Keeping myself accountable, I would say, with being consistent listing. Because if I'm sitting there, I'm like, like, you know, when you look at your computer forever, like when I'm doing YouTube videos and doing this and this and this, when I get to the time I have to list, I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at the computer any longer. But then I'm like, well, I don't really have an excuse. It's going to take me 2 minutes to list something. So I jump on and I'm like being consistent, you know, so it kind of keeps me accountable.
Okay. Well, I love that. And Anylu, same question to you. How did you find out about List Perfectly, and how is it helping you?
So I found List Perfectly pretty soon after I started reselling, probably, I want to say about a month. When I first started reselling, I just went onto YouTube and I typed in reselling, and then, you know, a bunch of videos came up, and I found Becky Park on Poshmark on YouTube, and she had either had made a video or had a video about List Perfectly and how much time it had saved her. And I think that's what got me, just because I do have a full-time job, time is of the essence. And so I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to be on different platforms with the amount of time that I have. So I just gave it a month and I said, I'm going to try it. And if it saves me time and it's doable within my time frame, then I'll keep it. And that's exactly what happened. And that's honestly probably the only reason that I'm on eBay and Mercari, because I did start on Poshmark. And thanks to List Perfectly, I've just been, you know, able to not 100% be on all three platforms, but at least have extra eyes on, you know, some of my items.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that from both of you. And I really just want to stress to everyone watching that if you're not on List Perfectly yet or using it yet, on average, our members are saving 80% of the time. So it really does pay for itself. Even if you're on the business plan, which is the plan that I recommend for everyone, it's a $49 plan. But if you value your time at, let's say, $20 an hour, you are certainly saving more than 3 hours. I'm going to say per week, not let alone per month. So it is definitely a time saver. And of course, more platforms, more sales. So for those of you not yet on it, it is really, honestly, like such a time saver, does pay for itself. But I also, for me at least, like it was a little soul crushing to have to list one by one. You know, you just end your day and you're just so exhausted. And so with List Perfectly, it does make it more fun and you get to focus on the aspects of reselling that you love the most. Okay, so this is my favorite question, and I'm going to ask it to both of you. Matt, what would you tell your reseller self on the first day you started that you like wish that you knew that day?
Don't buy everything made well. I would say, to broaden that answer, I would say don't buy everything just because it has a brand that you know on the tag. Because most of the time, that item you find isn't going to sell. You have to get the special ones, you know? When I first started reselling, I would hear, oh, this brand is good. So I would just pick up everything. And that clogged up your inventory. I still have some of that stuff listed in my closet. So I would just say be a smart sourcer, do your research, memorize brand tags and what they look like, and know what to pick up. So, yeah. Yeah,
great tip. Anylu, same question to you. What do you wish you knew?
Well, Matt already took the best answer, but whatever. I'll think of my own. So my answer would probably be to tell myself not to pay attention too much to other resellers in the sense of comparison, just because I know that I was looking at full-time resellers and I'm a part-time reseller, and I would forget that I'm a part-time reseller, and I would see these full-time resellers and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why am I not doing this? Or all this stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, so my situation is completely different. So I think I would go back. And if you're going to do the social side of reselling and, learn from your peers and such, I would say just try not to compare everybody else's situation to yours. And that way you can kind of pave your own path and make it work for you.
Yeah, definitely. And also I think so many people look at what other people are picking up, but your buyers are your buyers. And that's also another great reason to be using the analytics that we provide you so that you can make those informed decisions just on your own inventory, your own buyers. And it is really important. So that's some great advice. Okay, so I want to know, how did you two meet? Because I think reselling can be such a lonely journey, and you two have such an amazing bond and support system in each other. And of course, an amazing podcast, the Reseller Rundown podcast. List Perfectly has its own podcast, the Seller Community Podcast, and we do highly recommend the Reseller Rundown podcast as well. It's a great, great resource, and it's honestly really fun. Put it on when you're listing. So when you're listing perfectly, you got to be listening to that. So, yeah, Matt, how did you guys meet and what made you get started with this?
So we've never met in person to this day. We met on Instagram and started FaceTiming and then came up with the idea of the podcast, and we still have never met.
You know
Isn't that
what?
crazy?
It's like PFF. That's what most people have, is they have this amazing support system virtually, especially pandemic times. Like I would pre-pandemic, I'd be like, whoa, you guys have never met. But I think now it's just, that's kind of the new way.
Yeah, it's like the new normal, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
Annie, what did you think when Matt messaged you and asked you to do it?
That's what I was trying to remember, like who messaged who at first or how we even like started talking.
It was probably like you responded to a story or vice versa, something like that.
Yeah. I don't remember, but we also live in the same state, which I think is even crazier that we haven't met, even though like, I live in Northern California and he lives in Southern California. But I don't know. I didn't really think about it. You talk to people on Instagram and stuff, and then there's just some people that you just keep talking to, and then it keeps growing. And the idea kind of started as a joke, and we were like, yeah, let's just do it. And like you said, it's just has been something really fun for us, and we don't take it too seriously. So definitely if you guys are, looking to listen to something in the background and, just chat with us, then you guys should join us at the Reseller Rundown every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's my little plug.
Yes, we love.
Put it in the show notes too, so that everybody knows that it's there. And Tiffany is watching from our LP team right now. She's going to send me the winner of a month free of List Perfectly. I'm just messaging her. Okay, and we're going to get that over in a minute. So in the meantime, what are your goals for this upcoming year, Matt? Where do you want to be at the end of this year?
So I'm like a mix of knowing my goals and not knowing my goals. And I've been honestly stressed business wise about like, what are my goals? Why do I not have all of them written down and stuff? But I really do think good advice to give is that you don't fully need to know everything you're doing all the time. Cause like Anylu said, the stakes are high when you're just like focusing on that. She said she is not stressed about it because she has also another job. I don't know if I'm making sense right now because I'm answering like 12 questions at once. But I would say you don't have to have everything planned. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But what I do have planned is that I just want to grow my business and be successful. So I don't really have details beyond that, but I think it's okay not to have those details all the time.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And you know what? Sometimes we just do the work and the work speaks for itself and we get there.
Exactly. I literally made no sense. So I apologize, everyone.
No, it didn't make sense. And I think, can I tell you, I think I'm going to be real with you. That's not who I am. I'm the person that has my goals written down.
Yeah.
But so many people that don't. And I also understand that. So I think for anyone that doesn't, like, it's just so good to like hear that you can be successful.
There is someone. It's like,
and just kind of go with it and see where the journey takes you and focus, like Anylu said, on your journey and not on everyone else's. So I think that's really great.
I think that's also definitely like, I think Anylu's more of the planning person and I'm more of the whatever, we have 3 minutes to get on kind of person. And I think it meshes really well together because we're different,
So this question that just came in is a joke from the Reseller Rundown. I've had this dress on the mannequin trying to sell it forever. And yes, guys, it's still here like 3 months later. So yeah, it's still for sale, guys.
I would say more than 3 months, but I'm not counting. I have a log.
Well, clearly,
that's one thing I did plan.
Clearly, Adrian is counting. But to answer that question, I just forgot the entire. Our goals for the year.
Yes.
So, I kind of see my goals, like the year that I'm counting is since the day that I started, a year from then, and that was last July. And so my 1 year goal is coming up. And I think that when I started it, I really wanted to keep it fun because of the same reason of having a full-time job. And so my main goal was to do as much as I could, as long as it was still fun. And I didn't really put a number on that goal because I didn't even know the possibilities. I didn't really even know what I was doing. And so now after my first year, I think I really do want to sit down and set actual number goals for my second year and see, knowing what I know now, what I can achieve. But I think I've achieved the it has been stressful at some times, I'm not going to lie, but I think that I have been successful in the sense that it has still been a fun hobby that's also, a side hustle.
I love
I
that.
steal your answer and I retract mine.
I love that. Well, obviously, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And I think one thing that that unfortunately happens a lot in this community is it becomes like something that you never intended it for it to be, and the love can be lost. And I will tell you guys that just on my personal journey, I lost love for reselling after doing it for 7 years. I was like, you know what? I don't love this anymore. And when I discovered List Perfectly, I actually did love it again. And I genuinely mean that. It's just because it was just so hard. It got to be so monotonous. And when I finally had like literally 80% of my time back, I was like, oh my God, I love this again. So, I really think it's just a matter of like running it like a business, having those tools and having a community like you both have, and, listening to things like the Reseller Rundown podcast. And you guys keep it so real on there, and you have such funny dialogue between the two of you. And I just think you speak from the hearts of so many of the reselling community. So I really love that and encourage everyone to check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Love.
I love it. So we have a winner. The 7 of Diamonds is the winner.
Yes.
Instagram. And we're going to get your free month of List Perfectly squared away. But that is all for today. Thank you both so much for joining us for the Superseller Session. It was just been so great to interview you, and we've loved working with you so far and collaborating. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Also, you hopefully at Posh Fest 2021. I know it was just announced.
I will be there, and I hope to see you both there.
I'll see you.
Okay, great. Well, we'll definitely be partying soon. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us.